Okay, let's look as example what we can do. And stereoscopic images, again, it will be almost similar to how you do normal. And I have some examples of those when we have it plane and or macro, and you can just render simplicity. When you do with the 360 or panoramic, that is create a little bit different. So what is meaning when you create landscapes, for example, right here, you want to be sure it is located on all sides. And some small tricks, sometimes you can create like this scenery right here. We can take camera and preview, and you can see we have it coverage around. So in this case, the user, if they look up or down or some way around, they kind of can see all areas. Other things, also try to keep it, if you do for the VR kind of view for 360, that position of the camera about right height, because most problem when people look down and they don't see some object, it's make them look weird. In some cases, like example of this mountain lake, just load it. Let me select camera for this. Okay, you can see that if we look down, I position the rock. So it's a water. We're kind of standing on a water right there. And let's render even funny kind of in 360 right here. But you can see I placed the rocks just under the feet. So on this, just from experience, when you render some view and you want people to see it, floating in the air, it's fun for maybe first time, but afterwards you want to have it some place for the people so they feel like they're on a solid ground, and it's provide a little bit better experience overall. However, if I render this scenery to use it as a HDR or 360 stereo dome for some of the game or other things, I would like to remove the rock from the bottom, because that way it's too close. You can see more artifacts, and I will replace just with the object inside the game. Okay, the other suggestion, sometimes you may take camera, you look around positioning. It does kind of very nice if you put it on horizontal plane, because otherwise you can see it's render a little bit awkward position, and when you import it does not import properly. So we can go inside the properties, go to our settings, and we can set pitch 90, and you can set to the 0 or 100. But most important, the pitch, it's what for us. So we have it 90, 0, and 0 if you want set. This way, when we render and we import it to other applications, it will be positioned properly. So be sure you do reset if you play after with camera, so the render will come up nicely. Okay, let's look back to our render, and usual settings will be similar that you have before, with some exception that you don't want to use it any blur, motion blur, or the focus blur or other things, because it will produce some unwanted artifacts. As well, how I said before, it's a texturing, it's what important as well. So if you bump maps, so for example, if I have an object and it's very close with the displacement or with the bump map, and I render as a 3D, that will create some artifacts. You could create it special properties with the camera, and that will be part of the future release tutorials about new view and how to work with the projects. But overall, you can go inside the editor. We can create on a camera, and we can create output custom dependency. Okay, and we can set this custom dependency, for example, to the position of the camera. If it's not accessible, because most time it will be accessible to us. And base it on a camera position, we can also going inside the our terrain and be sure set the texture bump map going to 0 if it's too close to our camera. So we can do, for example, go inside here, again, edit our terrain, And if you purchase the tutorials, this scenery will include it with tutorials, so you can play around. You can see right here we already pre-created some map. But if we look in the properties, maybe on a base, the bump map set, if it's gray, still doesn't matter. But for example, if it's set 2.5, we can go inside the function editor and input. Let's go to external dependency. Set this to our main camera position. And from this point, we can actually take a vector, calculate positions based to our position currently, and after take and remove some bump maps based on this. So if it's 0, if it's too close, 10 meters, we can set to the 0. So we'll go more around this later. Okay, so let's look at another example when you don't want to render 360. If you want just to render simple, like right here, stereo image, I want to create from somewhat this winter look. For this one, what important for me is figure out what is distance I want to keep it in this. For example, I want to keep it this house in focus. I don't need to be precise, but overall I can say it's about 10 meters per square. So we have it about 10, 20, 30, 40. So about 40, 35. So in this case, if I'm going inside, I have it options. I can go set my focus in 35, for example, 35 meters inside the camera. Even I don't see right here, but it will be kind of work better after we render. And also I can go inside, set stereoscopic, and set this to off axis. That will work better. Of course, I'm going top bottom. It's what I'm going to use. Or you can set sideways if you use for other ones. And you can say same by focus, or again 35, just type in. This way of axis will produce just without parallax, but it's will creating best focus for me. So I want to create this front ones, so the little bit look blurry, kind of like almost off, but I want to create my focus point on that house on the back. But I'm going to switch back same as a focus of axis. Click OK. And you know what? I see a little bit too sharp, so I'm going to just touch up a little bit on atmosphere here and just reduce slightly glowing on the sun. So right there we'll have a little bit more details and pop up frosting, and let's go pop up a little bit on a race, so it will make smaller lights. We have global radiosity, so it's set good for us. Right here we'll just add a little bit more haze, this frosting haze almost. Okay, and at this point let's render. Notice if you click on the render, it's come up, it says glare non-photorealistic render, lens flare effect not compatible, and it's disabled. Yes, we want to disable this. And also it says disable motion blur depth of field. Yes, I want to disable this because as a stereoscopic effect and I'm focusing on my house, it will be applied by those parallax cameras it will be creating. So I want to click this disable. It's take a second to prepare. So it's going to render right now. I'm going to pause this tutorial till render is completed and come back after it's done. Okay, so right here you can see we finished recording, and it took 3 hours 30 minutes for this image to record. Okay, but this is just a stereo image. Some offsets I can see already, just a little bit right here positioning. And of course this is hard preview. Instead you want to put it in your Google Cardboard or some other stereo viewer. Again, this image is available part of the pack, so you can test, load it, and see how it will work for you.